In this episode, I am talking about the habits of successful entrepreneurs. The same habits that I still struggle to master, but also the same habits that saved my business and my marriage. If you're new here, I'm Jenn, owner of Formula Done, and I help experienced business owners use content that they already have to get more traffic and more leads. If you'd like to hear more, make sure you subscribe to this channel, hit that notification bell, and check out my other videos. All right, so welcome back. Episode 106. This is so cool. So in between episode 100 and now, or actually between 100 and 101, we had a several month break. And what I want to talk about here is the things that I was doing while we were on that hiatus of producing the podcast, because a lot of things happened in that time. And while it's really easy to go and talk about what I did from a business standpoint, what's really more important is that I focused a lot on developing strong entrepreneurial success habits during that time. So that's what we're going to be talking about here. I'm going to share with you kind of what I learned, my process I went through, and how it saved my business really, but more importantly, how it really saved my marriage. Let me start kind of at the beginning here. So we hit episode 100, and the whole reason, if you've listened to some of the other podcasts, the whole reason that we started the podcast initially was just because I wanted to have some core consistent content that we knew was good stuff that I could really work on repurposing. Because as I was reinventing our agency, I was focusing a lot on content repurposing. And so I wanted to have the material for us to be our own best case study, right? So during that time, we looked at and we said, okay, we've hit 100 episodes. We have 100 episodes of a podcast. We have hardly any downloads because we haven't actually worked on promoting a podcast. And so I said, all right, if we're actually going to go to all the work of creating this amazing video and creating the podcast, what do we need to do to take full advantage of the opportunities and not just doing one thing for the sake of content repurposing, right? So a lot of what we were doing is kind of some strategic sort of moving things around. And during that time, I really wanted to get back to having a strong business coach and following a mentor. And so I had jumped on board with Kathryn Jones's program. You guys, she's been a guest on here before. She spoke on our summit. And I really respect what Kathryn does. I love her process. So I joined her program. And one of the things that she really talks about and that I have truly come to believe is that it's those habits, it's the patterns, the things that you do successfully over and over and over that really make you successful. And those habits and patterns are not just business related. And I know for me, it's so easy, like I hate the terminology, but it's so easy to just want to fall right into that. Like, oh, I'm just going to hustle and grind, right? I can't do this personally. I don't have the time to do this because I'm working so much on my business. And the problem is that is actually such a detrimental thing to do. And that's where Kathryn's program really helped me. So here I am saying, all right, we're taking this kind of hiatus because during this time, we want to reinvent not only how we're producing the content, but I'm literally reinventing what it is that we are selling core program-wise as a business. And during that time, like I'm not okay with coming out with a new product or program to market or to share with all of you unless I know for sure that it has worked, which means I'm going to test it on myself and develop everything. And I'm going to test it on clients as different beta tests. So I was running beta programs with different customers one-on-one. I was running my group beta program and playing with, what is really working and what's not only in terms of the actual process of content repurposing and combining organic with paid and all the things that we were doing and working on from a tactical standpoint, but also like, how do we deliver that? How does our customer have success? How is that information received? And so I've literally spent the last couple of years working through all of these processes until I've gotten to a place where it's like super solid. And I feel really great about selling that as a concept, right? So during this time, I said, okay, I'm kind of reinventing the business, and I am on board with, in order to raise and develop and grow my company instead of just an agency model, how do I create a business and not just jobs for myself, right? That's something that I've talked about, I know, in past episodes, but not just back straight into, I want to trade time for money agency model, but how do I really develop and grow as a fully successful CEO, entrepreneur who's building this scalable business model, right? So that's where my focus was. And so I joined Kathryn Jones's program. And in there, she talks about the concept of what she calls her awake work. And as I've kind of dove into learning more about this and really adopting it for myself, I found it's the same concept that's in so many different books and different planning for life. And here's the habits of highly successful people. And the thing is, it's more about, so here's my first tip, right? It's more about giving yourself permission to work on things other than just business. And for me, that was a huge deal. If I wasn't logging like 8 hours of solid work per day, and I'm like, oh, well, but I went and did this, but that was really for me. For me, the biggest shift was saying, okay, it's okay. Because in order to move forward in success, that means I have to master all of these concepts. So I'll use Kathryn's vernacular just because it's fun, it's easy to remember. So her awake work stands for, A is for awareness. How do you feel about yourself, your person? What is your level of awareness and like mental clarity, right? Let's see here, A, W. W is for worship. How you are in your relationship with God, a higher power, whatever that spirituality connection is, making sure that you're taking time to have that connection. Back to A again. So AWA, we're at anatomy. How am I taking care of my physical body through nutrition, through movement? What are the things that I'm doing to stay powerful as in my body? And K is for kin, and that is how I'm showing up in those relationships with my family, with my friends. The reason that we are working to have the time with family and friends, being able to do those things, actually tracking and making sure that you're following through and enjoying those things that life offers. And then finally, the last step, E, is for enterprise, and that is our actual working on our business. So when I look at that, it's like, okay, planning for business is really just a small portion of it, because the reason I'm doing that is to have the money to be able to enjoy these other things, right? So I fully embraced all of this plan. And how did I do this? So this leads me to actually my second tip, and this is just following along in the same program, right? So we actually took all of the goals. So I looked at each of those areas, all 5 of those areas in my life. And I said, okay, what do I want to accomplish in the next year in terms of my relationship with myself, my relationship with my family, and my body, right? All of those different aspects. Like, what are the things that I want to accomplish? And so I set year-long goals. And then, just like you're doing in business planning, year-long goals, quarterly, monthly, weekly. Break them down. And one of the things that I ended up doing was recording. I know that they wanted us to record in an app, and this one's actually blank because I'm working on year end right now. But I just go and I bought myself a little diary, and I'm recording. Here's my yearly goals, and then I put my quarterly breakdowns, and then ultimately my monthly breakdowns all end up in here. I break the entire time down, and each quarter I repeat the same process, right? And so each quarter I'm breaking down that quarter into month and into weeks. And by breaking down goals in all of those areas, what I was able to do is go, okay, I want to get some different equipment. Like I ended up buying a little balance board to put in front of my desk so that I could work on core strength while I was working, right? But I also knew that in some of the areas I really needed some help. And so that leads me into my third tip, which is accountability and or having a coach. And so I realized that I have been seeing my own therapist for quite a while. And so she's really helping me with my awareness side of things, right? And I had hired Kathryn with the intent of being my business coach. So I had a business coach. And I'm like, what would it be like if I actually had a coach in every one of these areas of my life that I want to succeed in? And that's what I really love is I was able to go, okay, how am I going to meet my fitness and nutrition goals, right? So I ended up joining another program, my dear friend Elaine's program, and she was teaching me the importance of how to eat right and alkalinity in foods and water and 80-20 vegetables, right? Tons of raw food, like all these awesome things that I kind of started learning and following along. And I had a program and a path, and I was like, here's my goals, somebody to keep me accountable. So my third tip is to make sure that you have those partners for accountability, or you have a coach to help bring you along the way. So I actually hired a coach for all of the areas except for kin, in which case what I did there is I actually broke that down and gave myself, okay, I want to spend, X amount of time with friends and family. I scheduled out trips. I scheduled out like surprise lunches, so that I knew I was very much dedicating time to those relationships. I scheduled time to write letters. And I actually put that time tracking into my time tracking software so that I knew through the day, it's okay. Like through the week, I know that I want to be spending, several hours here connecting with myself, several hours working on physical activity, like every day. Here's what I'm doing. And connecting with family and friends. These are all things that I actually started to track in terms of my own time tracking to make sure that I was still meeting my goals and dedicating time from my schedule to move all of these goals forward in one fell swoop, right? Amazing in practice. And so for a large portion of my time during the hiatus, that's exactly what I was working on. And I honestly think that had I not been focusing on life in balance, because what happened during that time is my relationship with my husband we've been married for 13, 14 years, and we've been together for almost 20. So our relationship was not doing well. And it was, both sides of what was happening. But if I had not actually been really granting myself that permission, giving myself a coach and goals, having that accountability, if I didn't have all of those things in place, I don't know that I would have pulled my weight on this side of it. But what happened, you guys? This is the first time I've told this story publicly. So during this time of trying to reinvent my business and reinvent myself as well, we were really falling apart. And we went from this isn't working to we completely filed for divorce to we wanted to help each other. And in so doing, became really good friends. And then in so doing, fell back in love. Because I was allowing myself time, and so was he, right? I was allowing myself time to work on myself, my physical body, taking care of the right nutrition, spending time with other family and friends, developing my hobbies, becoming more creative, not working all the time, right? Becoming a much more full, bountiful life and understanding and appreciating it like, wow, this is actually a lot of fun. And so we saved what could have been a complete life-changing And I honestly thought that we were separating for sure, right? And we didn't. And what we have now is a much better relationship than I ever even imagined. And a lot of it I think is due to focusing on developing all of these patterns and moving myself forward. And in the same time, I completely reinvented what was happening in our business and brought to market a completely new model that's never been brought out and sold in this manner. And it is kicking butt. I mean, I'm literally helping businesses launch and get more leads, like literally twice as many leads, half the price. Like we are killing it for people. And this machine is just getting started. And honestly, it would not have happened had I not spent the time to say, I need to give myself the space. I need to be creative. How am I going to connect with myself? How am I connecting spiritually? How am I connecting with my family? How am I developing myself physically and mentally? As well as what am I doing to move my business forward? You know, we all have these mentors that we follow, and it's so much fun to look at what other people are saying. And one of the ones I love is I was watching a video from Vanessa Lau, and I love her. And she was talking about entrepreneurial habits and the importance of how her morning routine really made a difference in her life. And, you know, that is something that I have constantly struggled with. Like, I have a morning routine, but it's pretty much changing kind of as I continue to learn new things, and I'll slip away from it and then I'll come back, right? And I know that the morning routine is it's different for everybody. I'm still just trying to find my right thing. So here's what my morning routine looks like right now. I'm super curious, what types of things are you doing for a morning routine, or what habits of highly successful entrepreneurs have you already adopted into your everyday life? I'd love to hear. Put it in the comments below. Make sure you share that. So here's what I'm doing for my morning routine right now, which is I get up, and one of the very first things I do is I go turn on my water to start some hot water, because I start my day with hot water and lemon. And then I go back in, and I have, in our bedroom, I have one of those shake plates. It's like a jiggle plate, and you stand on it and it just vibrates you really, really hard, right? And, but it gets your body moving. But it also, like, I'm doing it to kind of get that lymphatic stuff moving, right? And then I like to move my body from there for like another 10 minutes. And here's one of the challenges I gave myself, you guys. Like, I'm not a fitness expert, not yet. But I just said, okay, I'm going to do 10 push-ups, 10 sit-ups, 10 squats, and walk around for a little bit, right? I usually walk for about 5 minutes, at least, right there. So I just move my body. Like, it's not much. It doesn't take me very much. It takes me about 10 minutes in total. And I'm just doing some squats, some push-ups, some ab work. Like, I've got, sit-ups. That's what I'm doing. And just walking around. And so that just kind of helps me get energized and everything. And then I'm going to grab my fresh lemon, my hot water, start my day with that. I usually try to drink an entire one of these during that time. And for me, I keep playing with, does my meditation happen during that time? But usually by that time, like, I'm getting amped and I'm like, okay, I'm ready to dive in. I found it some of my most creative time. So I like to go right to work. Now, that's totally different than what a lot of entrepreneurs do, but I like to go right to work. And I'll look at, what are the things that I need to accomplish today based on my goals that have been set for the week. What did I get done? Where do I need to reset? What do we need to kind of schedule and move around for today and tomorrow, right? So I look at all of those things, and a lot of times, like, this is when I'll do creative writing or outline scripts for like these shows. It's some of my good brain time, right? And then every morning at 9:30, we have a team call. So everybody from my team gets on a call. We all kind of talk about the goof, like, what are the wins? What are some struggles? Are you hung up? What are you working on today? Like, those are kind of what we go over. Then after that, I'm usually 15, 30 minutes for that call. And from there, what I like to do is take that time then to then go meditate. And I like to spend some time meditating, and then I like to journal afterwards. And for me, I have found that, so I've been playing with a fun little journal here, and I'm starting to get creative and like play with, markers and having different kinds of fun in here, and just whatever comes to me, like that's what I'm calling out. And so I literally sit down with my journal and with my book O markers, because all the colors make me fun or make me happy, right? I love having all the colors. So the process of doing this really helped me to remember that back in a day before I started a business, I used to be really creative. I used to craft and do things all the time. And I realized that was something that was lacking from my life. So that went into my goals. And now I have a Pinterest board, and I'm constantly adding things in there of like, these are crafts I want to work on, right? I discovered that I really like steampunk, and I totally dive in. But what happens is, while I'm working on those creative things, while I'm working on journaling, yes, I do even look at some of my tasks right here in my journal. But when I'm working on these things, it's in my subconscious, I'm chewing on the things that need to happen to help move all the rest of those goals forward. Now, a lot of times for me, that's business related, but it's not always, in the midst of what was happening with my husband, I was constantly chewing on a lot of those things and like, what can I do to help improve this situation? So I really just focus on this daily outlet, and I try to make sure that happens. Now, here's the final tip that I have, which is the trap check. Because as I was preparing this episode, I realized like this one was actually really difficult for me, and I didn't understand why. I knew that I was going to be talking about some highly personal things, but I'm okay doing that because I'm through that part, and it's okay sharing that because maybe it'll inspire somebody else. But what I realized is that I made this big push. We came out with a new program. My relationship has been doing a lot better, right? I'm in a whole new loving relationship with both my business and myself and my husband. And I started to fall back into the trap. And that is like, oh, okay, now I know what I'm doing. Like, I know how I'm going to help people, and I just want to get out there and do it, right? And I'm starting to fall back into that trap of working more and not doing these consistent daily habits. And so I think that that's the fourth thing, is the trap check. Once a week, have something on your calendar that's actually like, did I journal every day? Did I move my body every day? Am I still eating healthy consistently? Like, having those checks to look back on, because I found I'm falling out of it again, right? And that's not where I want to be. So it's time to get back into a hiatus status on moving my goals forward, even though we are back to producing an amazing podcast every single week, right? But it's a lot of fun. I think as long as just really focus on like, things take time, and it takes time to develop that balance, and moving myself forward means moving all of those elements forward. So I would love to hear what you guys have to say about this, because there's a lot of personal stuff right here, right? Yeah. And but it's these things that people talk about, like these success habits, but how does it really fit in your life? And like, I know I'm not perfect. Totally not perfect. And I'm constantly like, how am I going to keep improving this? So just sharing where I'm at. Love to hear where you guys are at. And also, if you want some actual more business stuff and not as much on the personal side of habits, go check out some of the videos in our channels here. And we have some awesome playlists. We're getting involved in shorts. So if you want to check out our shorts, I'm also sharing a lot of fun stories and tips and stuff in there. So any more information or anything else you want to know, go check out our website at thevirtualjen.com. And I also highly recommend Kathryn's program. I'll include a link in the show notes here below. And Until then, find those habits that are going to fit for you, share what you're doing, and can't wait to see how they move you forward and how it changes your life as well.